All right, welcome to Liquid Lunch. It's me, Hugh, and of course, my co-host today, like almost every day, is Jen Frankel, who is actually an undead redhead. Right? But she's covering it up.
I'm not a natural undead redhead. Neither naturally undead nor naturally a redhead, but yes, at heart. At heart.
Yeah. Anyways, great to get started on the show. And our first guest today is Gisele Tchatat.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. And we were just having a great conversation. You're here in Toronto now, and you're teaching French. You've got, is it...
I have a school, like two center. I call it center because they are really not big schools.
Yeah.
French Tutoring Centre, 2 locations. One on College and Yonge.
Yeah.
And then the main location is on Davenport Road. Davenport and Christie.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's tutoring. It's not actual
Yes,
classes.
tutoring. Yes, tutoring.
Yeah.
Yes.
So one-on-one?
It's one-on-one. We do have group classes, and we also go to businesses with a group of people. We offer conversational class, like French programs, like French for lunch, Café Philo.
French for lunch?
French for lunch, like for people like you. You bring your lunch, and then we just kind of...
So you go for lunch?
Yes, you bring your lunch at the college location during lunchtime, and then there's a host that will...
Okay, I'm getting a good idea now.
Yes.
I'm getting a good idea because we're also talking about maybe doing some sort of a show with you, but that could be another thing.
Exactement. Yes.
So you got French for lunch, and now you've got French on TV,
C'est ça.
right?
That's
Where
good.
you can have any kind of conversation with anybody about anything,
I'm very glad you asked because I didn't even think of that, right?
right? So you
But
can just
it's a
integrate
program
it.
that we're already offering, so why not?
You'll have a whole new market of
Exactly.
people that want to do stuff like that.
Oh, I thought you meant that we were going to get lunch out of it.
That's,
We were thinking of making something like crepes, something casual. Occasionally we'll offer coffee. We have a espresso machine.
Oh, that's great.
Yes, but it just gets a little bit too involving. I don't always do it. I have a team.
yeah.
So it's kind of difficult to ask people to clean up after or to... Yes, there was another dimension. I really... When I did... Because when I started my business, I was the teacher, I was the director, I was everything, the cleaner and everything.
And the coffee maker.
And the coffee maker. So I could do those things very, very fast. But when you start kind of employing people, it's difficult. It's different, right? There are certain things. For example, after the French for lunch, if the place doesn't get cleaned up, the next class will be,
Maybe that could be the cleanup class,
That's right.
right? You just
French.
adjust the rates.
Yes.
Wait a second, so you actually get people to pay for the privilege of coming in and
That's the
cleaning
best.
up after the... That's if you could work that, let me know, because I'd like to integrate that into my business plan as well.
No, because I think one of the best ways to learn a language is to do it in a work environment.
It is.
I mean, I'm going to just tell a little story. When I was 17, I wanted to learn French, right? So I got a job near Quebec City, working at a KOA campground is what I was doing, right? So, cutting the lawn and collecting the garbage, or as we say, vidange.
La vidange.
La vidange.
La poubelle.
Weed. Well, it was great because I was in a French environment. All
Yes.
my co-workers were French, and we had to speak French.
Complete immersion.
Yeah.
That's how I learn English.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. That's how I learn English.
And it's funny, actually. It's funny that I'm just doing the synchronicities here because I think it was last night, I tuned into the Assemblée nationale du Québec just to watch the
That's nice. Then.
just to watch
The
the guys
news.
speaking French.
Oh, good. Radio Canada too. Like you can tune into Radio Canada. They have very good French.
Oh yeah, well not only that. I mean, I know on my TV cable at home, I've got like probably a dozen or more.
Yes,
French channels,
RFI, Radio France Internationale in the morning.
Yeah.
When you're getting ready, you can just have the French in the background. It's a very, very, very effective way of learning. is to just expose yourself. Your ears get used to it.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I was telling you about the contract that we have with McNabb,
Yes.
right? The company. And in the group, they didn't want to separate because we normally start by giving an assessment and then we place people. But you have people who are complete beginners and a little bit advanced. So it was kind of difficult to manage the class. So what I decided to do was actually to use songs for the pronunciation and then for the vocabulary and for le point de grammaire, and it worked. They love it.
What did they do? Sounds?
Songs, les chansons, songs.
Oui.
Right.
Yes, I selected some very, very popular songs,
Yeah.
French songs, and then they listen to it, they acquire, and then they have to read it.
Right.
Instead of me teaching them how to pronounce, they're getting it, and then they can continue in the car to listen to the same song, and this way they get the pronunciation very easily.
Oh, that's fantastic. When I was taking high school French,
Yes.
that was one of the things that my favorite teacher did. She would she'd bring in a lot of Beatles songs with
Yes.
French translations, and I
Super.
still remember. I can still sing a lot of them and remember the words for it, and that does actually help.
It does help. It's a very good.
Yeah, our teacher used to bring in Nana Mouskouri.
Nana Mouskouri.
Yeah.
I love Nana Mouskouri.
Yeah.
I love Nana Mouskouri. Yes.
And also, she taught us some song about Napoleon.
Napoleon.
Avec 500 soldats. You know that one?
Yes, you see, you don't forget those things because
I
of the
know.
song. You don't listen. You always
Right.
remember.
I still remember Nous habitons dans sous-marin vert. For some reason, it was a green submarine in French, and I've never really understood
You
that.
see?
It rhymed nicely.
À la
but-
Claire Fontaine, là.
Yeah.
M'en allant promener, j'ai trouvé l'eau si belle que je m'y suis baignée. You
And
see?
who was the poor guy who kept getting his head chopped off in the
There were a lot of them.
yeah,
Marie Antoinette,
when I remember.
the woman.
No, it was like the oh, I'm gonna forget now. But the thing that really kind of bothered me about our French training in school, I took French from grade 6 on, or maybe grade 4. I guess we start French in public school, and yet, despite all those years, I took it all the way up until grade 12. And then the OACU at the time, I still don't feel like I have conversational French, and I don't feel I've ever had
No, you have to
conversational
take
French.
it to. You have to get into an environment where you're speaking French.
Yes, it's like you honestly, I'm sure that your grammar is very good. Like if I gave you an assessment, you will probably, because I don't know how you learn, depending on how you learn French, if it was formal.
Right.
From where I come from, it tends to be very formal, like grammatical. We really like, usually Africans are very good with grammar because, that's how we learn. But depending on how you've been exposed to the language, because there's a method called the whole language approach, where they expect children to just pick it up as they go
Does
along.
that actually work, or is that just
I don't
BS?
think so. I don't like that because this is
yeah.
why the tutoring center, they come to us
Yeah,
and then we fix it.
yeah.
Right.
Okay.
That's what they're doing in English at school. Like,
Yes.
whole language.
Uh,
It's not. It's like no system. We have our new no system. We spend a lot of money to create this system that's zero system.
Yeah, and I'm not big on the whole language approach either.
No.
The idea that you can somehow understand grammar from small examples without actually understanding what underlies it. It's like trying to, I guess an analogy for art would be trying to actually be able to draw the human body without understanding the bone structure and the skeletal structure and the muscles. And
Yeah.
if you don't have those things, you might be able to understand a body, but you can't create your own. So you could probably have a conversation, but you wouldn't understand how to start one of your own.
Yes, I think they should abolish that system.
What the whole language
The
system?
whole language.
Yeah.
Yes.
Here's what I'll just tell you a little bit about myself. Like when I grew up in an English-speaking school, right? And English was, of course, my first language. But I hated grammar in English. Now I could speak properly. I could speak with perfect grammar, but I didn't like to learn about nouns, verbs, tenses, all
You
that
might have been
stuff.
beyond it by the time they were actually
It was
teaching
just,
it to you.
but I
as
had
well.
just I didn't need to
Yeah.
learn the
intuited it,
grammar.
yes.
I
You acquired it.
I talked
naturally.
good. You know what I'm saying?
You still talk good.
No. But then in French, then you learn the language, and I just found that whole learning about grammar from what it's called and how the structures go together, for me, didn't really work. And even now, I find that grammar is probably one of my weakest points. Right?
And I found it very useful to have that, to be able to know how to conjugate. So when I was trying to create sentences in my own head, I felt like I was on solid ground. But I had no ability to understand how normal people who speak the language, put their sentences together. So actually getting a flow of conversation was impossible, despite the fact that I think I have a really good underlying grammatical sense. So I feel like I can write down sentences, but when it comes to actually understanding how somebody would put sentences together as a native speaker, I don't have a clue.
Okay, but there's a course, like it's called Concordance du temps. Concordance du temps. Like if you use this tense, the next tense you use in the same phrase is this one. It goes with that, you know. So there's a course about it. You can learn how to do that. You can learn, like, for example, if you're speaking in conditionnel, conditionnel will be je voudrais. I would like to. You see, because you have to know how to. If you go to a coffee, like a coffee shop, and then if I've asked you, je veux un café, I want. You see,
it's very rude.
It's very rude.
Yeah.
Je voudrais. So you have to use the appropriate tense,
right?
Mode. It's a course, and you can learn it. It just depends on how you learn. Who's your teacher,
right?
You know, because if you take the French conjugaison, you have 6 different modes. You have indicatif, you have conditionnel, subjonctif, infinitif, participe. Those are the modes. Right. And then you tell your student, okay, often, or most of the time, we speak in indicatif. But sometimes you have to use the conditional.
Right.
And sometimes you have to use the subjunctive. Now, what you're talking about is being able to decide which one to use while you're speaking, you know.
Even hearing that is really helpful, because that probably didn't occur to me that taking my grammar and turning it into speech would be about making that kind of a choice. Because I'd be listening to people speaking to me, and I'd be able to pick out the nouns, and I'd be able to pick out some of the verbs, but how they went together, it went by way too fast for me.
I would love to teach you that, Jan. Because I knew right away that you had a good foundation in grammar because of what you said about OAC, like going
right with the...
Yes, I think it was a little bit more traditional. You must have had good...
Definitely.
Yes.
We were very well aware of the Académie Française, is that what that makes all the rules? And I always felt like there were a bunch of old Frenchmen with long beards looking over my shoulder saying, "Oh, wrong tense." Use that word wrong.
You can get fined for that.
I think so. I felt like you could actually get thrown into prison if you misused words in French. It's like, it's kind of scary. It's like when they threaten you with the library police.
Il y a des oiseaux.
That's what it was. Alouette. The most horrifying song in existence, but you learn it as a kid, and it's Alouette, gentille Alouette, je te plumerai. I'm taking your feathers out, baby. And then we cut off your head, and
then you get Frère Jacques.
Yeah.
Who doesn't know Frère Jacques?
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so here you are. Now who's your ideal clients then? People watching this right now, who should get in touch with you? My ideal client or my existing clients? Everybody, it's the general population. We started out with the idea was really because I really have a scientific profile. I didn't set out to become to have a French Tutoring Centre. Yeah. What I studied in university was sciences, biochemistry, and all this. It's just a vraiment concours de circonstances, like we say. It's just by pure hazard that I find myself tutoring French and even teaching French in school. And that's because of the way I learn it. I was able to do that. But that's another story. So we started out with children,
And then once you register a business, everybody calls you. And then I get a phone call from a business. Do you offer business French? I go like, yes. So now we have business customer, and we have the general population. We prepare people like who gouvernement employees to prepare the exam that will give them the accréditation.
Oui, c'est le même mot en anglais.
C'est ça.
Accreditation?
Oui. When I get nervous, I can't speak. Like if right now,
Because
I can't speak.
Because when English people get nervous, what they do is they say English words with a French accent and hope that it's...
Yes, that's it. So we prepare stewardess, but 50% of our clientele are children going to French immersion or just core French, university student, about 10% businesses, and then the rest is just the general population. People, someone may want to go to France or to Quebec for a weekend or for a holiday. They'll come to us and say, okay, I just want colloquial French, like how to get by, how to ask for this and to ride my bike. And
so here's my question, because obviously, we haven't said it yet, but you grew up in Cameroon.
Yes.
You spent a lot of time in Paris.
Yes.
And so, I mean, we have the Quebec accent and the different, probably colloquialisms within even the Quebec accent, right? Like, I mean,
it is. Yeah.
It's. I mean, what do you think about all that?
It's a very, very delicate question. It was a little bit different when I came.
It was?
It was different. I didn't understand right away when I was the Quebec. I mean, I don't like to call it the Quebec French because it depends on who you're speaking.
Of course, yeah.
To in Quebec. I mean, I have if you're speaking with an intellectual Quebec, it's not the French is French, right? They may have a little bit of the accent may be different, but you can understand. But if you're speaking, they can also decide. A Québécois can also decide to speak something called joual.
Yeah,
that's what I was wondering about. Yeah.
Joual is very like it's difficult now. Having been exposed to it, I can get it.
It's like an attitude almost.
Exactly.
You just get into the street level, whatever.
But at first, I did not understand.
No.
It seems to change very quickly.
It's changing. Montreal is changing so fast.
In what way?
Well, joual itself, I think, changes. Like the different expressions seem to evolve really quickly.
Yes.
So it's like a slang that is constantly updating.
It's a very
itself.
colorful language. Like it's actually very beautiful.
Yeah.
I like there was a mayor, a mayor in Quebec. I forgot his name now. I love listening to that guy because the way they express it is so it's a very colorful. The way they express themselves is very colorful.
But what are you saying about Montreal, though? What's changing about Montreal?
Montreal, I find, is becoming very European. You know, very, very European.
So the people are elevating their speech?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, definitely. It's vous. Few years when I came, because I did go to school in Montreal as well. I went to Université de Montréal. I spent a semester at McGill, and then I switched to Université de Montréal. And I was always very shocked with the tu, like how easily someone could. Even today, I'm just too. If you're French and I was like dressing you, because this is the first time I'm meeting you, it'll be vous.
Yeah.
Okay, until we break the ice, like you say in English.
Yeah.
Then we can ask each other, can I tutoyer? Est-ce que je peux te tutoyer?
Yeah.
And then you see, there's a phase.
Yeah.
But it's changing. Even in France, the younger generation, because I work with younger people, I always, vous voyez, I always say vous. Because I don't want, even though it's okay to call me Gisele, I don't mind. I think it's but tu in a work environment, it's no.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's too casual.
But and you're saying it is being elevated
Yes.
in Quebec.
In Quebec, it's
Montreal.
vous. Everybody.
Okay.
Compared
good.
to when I came, 30 years as a foreign student,
Yeah.
30 years ago.
It's great. Good to hear.
It's,
They got such a great new premier. I love their premier now.
yes,
Quebec.
le Premier ministre.
Of Quebec.
Yes.
What's his
It's,
name? I can never remember when I need to. But
The doctor.
He's a
medical-
doctor.
he's a
And
doctor,
he's great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Liberal. I was there when he was elected. I was there. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Well, Gisele, this is great. Okay, so we put your name up and the website
Okay.
so people can get in touch with you if they want to get French happening in their business, or maybe they want to take those federal government exams, or even provincial.
Or if perhaps they have some amazing, great pitch for how you should run your television show.
Maybe they want to be
Wonderful.
on the show instead of doing the lunch thing or the cleanup
Exactly.
afterwards.
Yes.
They can come and
And be on the show. Why not? This is wonderful. I'm so glad. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Even just spending this time with you, the ideas are floating.
Yeah.
The lunch thing, it's wonderful. Thank you.
We feed your
Okay.
ideas.
Merci. You are pros. You know. Merci beaucoup. It's a pleasure.
bienvenue.
De rien.
Okay, so we're going to take a little break here. Thank you, Donna, for bringing Gisele here. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a little break, and we got Heather Skoll coming up, and someone else. I unfortunately don't have their name here, but we're going to talk about they've put together something called We Can Change the World Day, right? Which is kind of funny, because that's what we want to do here at that channel too.
Is it only going to take a day, or is it just that we get a day to start it off?
No,
Because it'd be
no.
cool if we could change the world in just one day.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk all about that. We'll be right back here on Liquid Lunch, thatchannel.com.